Good morning and welcome to today's meeting of the Licensing Board. I'd just like to make introductions for those of us that are in the chamber. We have Councillor McPherson on my right, Councillor Anderson, Councillor Stewart, Vice Convener Councillor Williamson, myself, Convener, Councillor Peter Barrett, the Deputy Clerk of the Board, Mr Elliott, Councillor Parrott, and then Councillor Ahern. And joining us remotely, we have Councillors Brock and Councillor James. In the chamber, we have Shona Douglas, para-legal. Can I remind everyone to switch off their phones to avoid any disturbance in the meeting? And I don't think that there are any apologies. Can I just confirm that with the Deputy Clerk?
That's correct. All members are present.
Okay. Members, what we will do today is to vary the order of the agenda. I'll shortly hand over to the Vice Convener, Bailey Williamson, to preside over both of the applications, and then I'll step back in and attend to the report about the board's scheme of the delegation, which will come last to allow the applicants to be dealt with timeously. So, are there any declarations of interest? No. Thank you. Do members agree the minutes of the meeting of 12th December 2022? Agreed. Thank you. And I'll now hand over to Bailey Williamson, Vice Convener.
Thank you, Convener. Could I please ask that the applicant, the agent, Audrey Jenner, are brought into the meeting by video, please? Hello, can you hear us? Okay, could I ask that you turn your camera on, please? There we go. Thank you. Could I just introduce the members and officers present? I'll start from my left, which is Bailey Chris Ahern, Deputy Provost Parrott, Councillor Peter Barrett, who's the chair, myself, Bailey Williamson, Councillor Grant, Councillor Anderson and Councillor McPherson. And we also have the Deputy Clerk, whose name's just escaped me completely, Colin Elliott, sitting to my left as well. Thank you. This is the new provisional premises licence application for Sidus at 30 County Place, Perth. Could I please ask the Deputy Clerk to introduce the application?
Thank you, Vice Convener. Now, I think first of all, I think obviously members will realise, but we have the agent Audrey Jenner present, and also her client, Mr. Sido, seems to be, but I don't see him, but he is there. Now, this application, members, seeks on-sale social demand hours, festive social demand hours, and restaurant hours. No off-sales facility is sought. The premises were previously known as the Odyssey and were licensed until 2022, when the premises license was revoked for non-payment of the annual fee. Now, this is a provisional premises license application. Delegated powers apply to the confirmation stage. The powers of the board at the confirmation stage are limited. Members should consider all aspects of the provisional application, including whether or not to impose local conditions. Section 50 certificates are in place for planning and food hygiene. For a provisional premises licence application, only planning permission needs to be in place. A Section 50 certificate is not in place for building standards. They have commented that a warrant is required for alterations previously. This was applied for a warrant under a 2009 reference, which was subsequently refused. Any other works carried out within the unit, including electrical works, should be formalised with a building warrant. Now, the applicant's agent has been advised of this response. Police Scotland have not objected. The police have not advised of any cases, complaints and representations within 1 year concerning antisocial behaviour on the premises or within a 50-metre radius of the premises. A copy of the proposed location plan and proposed layout plan are with members' papers for information, and no objections have been received to the application. Thank you, Vice Convener.
Okay, thank you. Okay, could I please ask Ms. Juna to speak to the application?
Good morning, Your Honours. It's very nice to be here today, and I'm delighted that my client Satinder Sidhu is able to join us. He is absolutely thrilled to be at the licensing board because this has been a very long time dream of his to have his own restaurant. He has been in Perth for 12 years, having come from India. And during those 12 years, he's worked in hospitality, both within the kitchens as a chef and front of house at both Gleneagles and Crieff Hydro and various other places throughout Scotland. So he is really excited to open his own restaurant. He's delighted to bring his knowledge of fine dining Indian cuisine to the centre of Perth. As Mr. Elliott explained, the premises was licensed before. But the licence was revoked. As I understand, the previous operators didn't actually sell alcohol kind of laterally. So we are obviously here today to try and have the licence back to allow my client to operate the restaurant with an alcohol facility. He's invested a considerable amount of money in converting the premises, and he was fortunate enough to be able to open just prior to Christmas with the benefit of occasional licences. So we're very grateful to you for approving those. He currently operates with just 2 staff. It's a very small restaurant, as you'll see from the proposed layout plan and the capacity. And he works within the kitchens with his wife doing front of house on occasions. We have noted the building standards comments and understand that those will have to be resolved prior to the Section 50 being issued by building standards. My client's architect is having discussions with them as we speak, so hopefully that can be resolved quite quickly. The terms of the application, I understand, are all within policy, but I'm more than happy to comment on any parts of it and answer any questions that you have, as is my client, who's also on the call. So subject to any questions, I would move grant of the application.
Thank you. Could I ask members, are there any questions to Ms. Juna or the applicant? Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Vice Convener. I was wondering, it sounds like Mr. Sidhu's got a lot of experience in the catering trade. I'm wondering what kind of experience the partnership has with dealing with alcohol.
So Mr. Sidhu himself has worked both within kitchens but also at front of house and does have his personal licence. So he has got that experience, as does his wife, who I believe also has worked in hospitality. The intention would be for all staff to have personal licences because it's quite a small team. They would hope to put everybody through the course and ensure that they've got that experience plus the training to back it up as well.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? No further questions. Could I therefore ask Ms. Jones to sum up, please?
Thank you, Your Honours. I would just commend the application to you. I would commend the applicant. I think it's a really great addition to Perth, and hopefully I'll get a chance to visit one day and try the cuisine, as it does sound fabulous. So yeah, just move grant of the application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Could I ask Colin Elliott, please?
Yes, I've just noted there's a query from Bailey Brock. Just to confirm, Bailey, that the licence was revoked back in 2020, it was, for non-payment of annual fee. Now that's obviously someone previous, and it did go to another, I think Audrey Junior mentioned it went to another type of operation where alcohol wasn't done, and then that closed again, and now we're looking at a new licence. So in straight answer to your question, it was revoked back in the previous licence was revoked back in 2020.
Okay, thank you. Could I now ask, are we ready to come to a decision? Do we agree to grant the application subject to mandatory conditions with no local conditions being added?
Agreed.
Okay, agreed.
Agreed.
Could I ask the deputy, as the deputy clerk, is there anything else to add?
No, Vice Convener, I think that's very clear. Grant subject to mandatory conditions with no local conditions being added. Thank you.
Thank you very
Likewise,
much.
thank you very much, Your Honours.
Thank you.
Bailey Williamson, you're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Start again. We'll now move to 7.1, major variation application to the Kirkmichael Village Shop. This is on page 27 onwards. This is a major variation application for the Kirkmichael Village Shop, Main Street, Kirkmichael. Could I ask the deputy clerk please to introduce the application?
Thank you, Vice Convener. On this occasion, the applicant, or rather the licence holder, wishes to participate by way of written representation, and you have that in the papers before you. Now, the proposed variation seeks to firstly amend the description of the premises by removing reference to it being a post office and petrol station. My understanding is it no longer is either of those. And secondly, the variation seeks to amend the layout plan to allow for an increase in the provision of off sales, a refrigerator is being added essentially, and the alcohol display area is also being relocated. Now, you have a copy of the proposed layout plan in your papers. And lastly, no objections have been received to this application. Thanks, Vice Convener.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the deputy clerk? There are no questions. Are there any questions online? No questions online. Are we now ready to come to a decision? Okay. Do we agree to vary the description of the premises, vary the operating plan, and amend the layout plan as sought? Agreed. Could I please ask the deputy clerk if there is anything else to add?
I don't think there's anything to add. That's quite clear that you've granted the variation as sought. There's no additional changes.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'll now hand back to the conveners for the rest of the meeting.
Thanks, Mike. Item 5 on our agenda is the scheme of delegation. The report advises legislative changes on participating in board meetings and asks the boards to agree a revised scheme of delegation. As a result, can I ask the deputy clerk to speak to the report, please?
Thank you, Convener. Members, you have a report before you, seeks revisals to the board scheme of delegation. The revisals are set out in Appendix 1 to the report, and they're all marked, the changes. Now, 3 changes are sought, which are listed in the report, which seek to tidy up the scheme. They don't alter existing practices. The main change sought relates to adding in the ability of officers to decide how a hearing is to be conducted. Now, members, I'll kind of explain this step by step. Prior to the pandemic, all participants attended board meetings in person. During the pandemic, there was emergency legislation, which you might recollect, allowed a participant to decide how they would participate in a hearing, written representation, telephone or video conferencing. Now, that emergency legislation is now ended, so that's gone. We now have new legislation in which allows a licensing board, and it works slightly different this time. It's the licensing board that decides how a hearing is to be held. Excuse me. So the board decides, not the participant now. In doing so, however, the board must take into account the views of a participant as to how to conduct a hearing. Now, rather than prepare reports for the board and ask you to decide how a hearing is to be conducted at one meeting, before then conducting that hearing at a later meeting, it's proposed to delegate that function to officers, so that officers decide how a hearing is to be conducted. Now, for the most part, the intention is to continue with the existing system that allows a participant to decide how they'll attend a hearing. And it's only perhaps premises license reviews and some personal license reviews that officers may consider that in-person attendance is appropriate. And even in those circumstances, agents and licensees licence holders often agree. So actually exercising that power to decide, I'm anticipating will be fairly rare, but it should be there if it's needed. Thank you, Convener.
Thanks, Mr. Elliott. Are there any questions for the Deputy Clerk? No. In which case, do we agree to revise the board scheme of delegation as set out in Appendix 1 to the report? Are we agreed? Members online?
I think Ian's got a comment. Councillor James has got a comment.
Oh, there must be a delay in the comments coming through, Ian, sorry.
No, thanks, convener. And it is literally a comment, nothing negative, only positive, to be honest. I'd like to thank Mr. Elliott for the way the report's written out. You can actually physically see the changes. And I like that because, quite often you're there with 2 bits of paper going backwards and forwards. So thank you very much for that, Mr. Elliott. And number 8, which has been added, I'm delighted to see that because so often we the occasional licenses come in last minute, and a shorter notice period is great as far as I'm concerned. So thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor James. Can I ask if the Deputy Clerk, if there's anything else to add?
Just for members' information, you've agreed to changing the scheme. That will now be tidied up, so you won't see the track changes, and that will be posted online for anyone to see.
Okay, thank you for that. That brings today's proceedings to an end. Thank you for your attendance and your participation. Thank you.